Bret Hart's ranking system takes into account a wrestler's look, their promo ability, and their in-ring skills, which are all rated out of 10. Typically, this ranking system is used to look at some of the best wrestlers in history. However, in today's video, we'll be looking at some of the worst. In every era of WWE's history, there have been some awful wrestlers who had a stint to forgetting the company. Based on Bret's system to focus on the three main categories, welcome to Honor Wrestling Club, and here are the 10 worst wrestlers of all time. Welcome to the club. I'd just like to put out a bit of respect to these 10 because they were able to make it like to WWE, and like more than I can say. In number 10, we have Heidenreich, and he had an infamous feud with The Undertaker. During Heidenreich's run in the Ruthless Aggression era of Jeff Jarrett on Venom, the company experimented with different ways to try and get him over, but none actually ended up succeeding in the long term. Heidenreich made his WWE debut in 2003, but was quickly taken off television afterwards, and he would reappear on the SmackDown brand in 2004. With Paul Heyman as his manager, Heidenreich feuded with The Undertaker in one of the latter's worst feuds of his career. The matches were horrible, and the Undertaker feud didn't help Heidenreich get over. Heidenreich would later form a tag team with Road Warrior Animal, and while they did win the tag team championships, they failed to have a major impact in the landscape of the WWE's tag team division. In number 9, we have Mabel, as his King of the Ring victory in 1995 was a complete disaster. Mabel stepped onto the scene as a member of the Men on a Mission tag team, and in 1995, WWE experimented with a singles heel push due to the steroid trial. This began with Mabel winning the King of the Ring tournament, a tournament that also featured Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, and it's gone down as one of the worst decisions the company had ever made. Mabel didn't get over as a top heel, believe it or not, and to make matters worse, he injured many major stars such as The Undertaker and Diesel, which made him a huge liability in the ring. Mabel would end up being released in 1996, but would be brought back to the company in later years and would have low-key runs as Viscera, the two different characters of Viscera, including the world's largest love machine, and Big Daddy V. In number 8 we have Eva Marie, and both of her runs failed to hit her stride. At a time when women's wrestling was taking a major step forward in WWE, Eva Marie stood out like a sore thumb amongst the company's female roster. Her in-ring ability wasn't on the same level as most of the other female competitors, and throughout her time in WWE, she never managed to connect with audiences despite her poor in-ring skills. After the 2016 draft, Eva Marie became a member of the SmackDown brand, but she never actually wrestled as she was suspended for violating the wellness policy, which is a shame because she was having a pretty enjoyable gimmick of just coming up with ingenious ways to not have to wrestle. She was released from the company in 2017, but would be for some reason brought back 4 years later, and once again her shortcomings as a wrestler were quite evident. In number 7 we have Brackus, who competed in the Brawl for All tournament. Hands up if you remember Brackus. Okay. He debuted in WWE at a time when the company was trying to expand internationally, especially in Europe. He had a great physique as he was previously a bodybuilder, but his transition into wrestling was far from a success. He joined the company in 1996 and he was first introduced on television a year later through a series of vignettes. Brackus was sent to ECW to garner more experience and would be brought back to WWE in 1998, where he competed in the Brawl for All tournament, losing to Savio Vega in the first round. Brackus no longer had the same height that he had a year prior. After a victory against Jesus Castillo on Raw, he would disappear from television altogether. In number 6 we have Kurgan, who was a member of the Truth Commission. With the growing number of factions on WWE television during the Attitude Era, more wrestlers were given opportunities on television. Kurgan debuted in 1997 as a member of the Truth Commission, and while he was able to stand out because of his 7-foot-tall stature, the faction failed to get over with audiences. Kurgan mostly wrestled in multi-man or squash matches on television, as his in-ring skills were extremely limited. After the Truth Commission disbanded, he was once again part of a faction, as he became a member of the Oddities. In another era, Kurgan would have perhaps found more success, but the Attitude Era really wasn't the right time for him to get over. In number 5 we have Midian, as he was a member of the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness faction. Midian first stepped onto the scene as Phineas I. Godwin, one half of the Godwins tag team. Do you get it? His initial was a pig. Funny. They were one of the most memorable tag teams of the mid-90s, to be fair to them, and despite their lack of in-ring skills or connection with the crowd, Midian had a substantial run as a singles wrestler in the late 90s. Midian was one of the most notable members of the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness faction, and during his time in the group he even won the European Championship, albeit it was a forgotten ring. After the Ministry faction came to an end, Mideon struggled to stay afloat on television, and towards the end of his time with the company, he became Naked Mideon, which was one of the most outlandish gimmicks in the Attitude Era, which is saying something. In number 4, we have the Great Khali. And like all respects to Great Khali here, because he got induction into the Hall of Fame in 2021. The Great Khali had the potential to be a huge attraction if he had been in the 80s. However, he failed to get over with American audiences as an imposing monster, and was wildly robbed of any sort of specialty he had with week-to-week television. His in-ring ability quickly became a glaring weakness, and he wasn't given a manager who could get him over with the microphone initially. Despite this, Khali was still involved in multiple main event rivalries like John Cena, The Undertaker, and Batista. He has to really start feeling bad for Taker now, playing so many of these awful big guy feuds. The Great Khali would win the World Heavyweight Championship in 2007, and his reign failed to set the world on fire. He eventually dropped the title to Batista, and throughout the next few years, he was no longer presented as the menace that the company hoped he would be, and instead became the Punjabi Playboy. In number 3, we have the Giant Gonzalez, and he was one of Taker's worst ever opponents. I'm saying the worst. In the 1993 Royal Rumble match, the Giant Gonzalez made his WWE debut by eliminating The Undertaker, which set up a feud between the two. Gonzalez had an imposing look, but he was downright immobile in the ring, and The Undertaker wasn't going to be able to carry him to a good match. Horrible matches aside, Giant Gonzalez's feud with The Undertaker failed to captivate audiences, which was during a time when the mystique of Undertaker's character was at an all-time high. A month after being defeated by The Undertaker at SummerSlam 1993, which was the sequel to their all-time bad match at WrestleMania, easily the worst match of Taker's streak, Giant Gonzalez left WWE, and it's fair to say his work in the company has aged like milk. In number 2, we have James Ellsworth, and he's one of the company's most notorious jobbers. Before getting squashed by Braun Strowman on an episode of Raw in 2016, James Ellsworth cut a promo in which he declared that any man with two hands had a fighting chance, which turned him into an internet sensation amongst wrestling fans. It doesn't take much for us to be entertained, does it? Ellsworth became so popular that he ended up becoming involved in a WWE title program with AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose later in the year. He was successful throughout his time in WWE, as he was a serious overachiever. He was destined to be a forgotten jobber, but against all odds, he managed to make a name for himself in the biggest wrestling promotion on the planet. And respect, well done. In number 1, we have Giant Silver, who was another member of the Oddities faction. Giant Silver is one of the tallest wrestlers in history, but his imposing size didn't help him achieve any success in WWE during the Attitude Era. He became a member of the Oddities, and while he didn't wrestle on a regular basis, his small sample size of matches was enough to determine that he couldn't wrestle his way out of a paper bag, never mind in a wrestling ring. His most notable match came at SummerSlam 1998, where he would team up with Golga, John Tenta or Earthquake to other fans, and Kurgan to take on the team of Kai and Tai in a 4-on-3 handicap match. For an undercard comedy match at one of the biggest shows of the year, it was surprisingly 10 minutes long, however it felt like 10 years. The only thing that happens in this match is that Kurgan keeps stopping to do a little dance, and whilst the dance is very funny, that doesn't make up for the fact that these three guys who can barely move are beating up 4 legitimately very good light heavyweights. And it made it for a very weird inclusion in what was otherwise a really good SummerSlam. And there you have it, there's our list. So what do you think? Who is the worst wrestler that you have ever seen? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you are new around here. That's all for now, so thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Welcome to the club.